Hey there, it's Wayfair here, where delivery and setup are as easy as a few taps on your phone. You're relaxing in an old hammock, scrolling Wayfair's app, when you spot it, a brand new patio set. Next thing you know, Wayfair delivers it right to your patio and sets it up. Oh, you need a new grill too? All right, Wayfair's got you covered. With Wayfair's Room of Choice delivery and fast expert setup on qualifying orders, life gets a little easier. Visit wayfair.com or the Wayfair app.
Wayfair, every style, every home.
Welcome to the Black Tax. There's an African proverb that says, "It is not necessary to blow out someone else's lantern to let yours shine." Being an entrepreneur is sometimes a touch and go situation. Some days you're high, some days you're low, some days you've got cash, other days you can't even figure out how you're going to find 10 cents to pay 10 bills. But that's the joys of being an entrepreneur, chasing what's important to you, living your dreams, turning those into realities and goals. But oftentimes, we surround ourselves with individuals who we think have the same mentality when in actuality, they don't. So a friend of mine who worked at Sony had a friend who used to work at Sony, who I knew, who had started a record pool company that he was connected with all of the labels, and the labels would provide him with music that he would then provide to DJs that spun on the radio and in clubs as a way to grassroots new music without having a street team to go out to grassroots it in the communities where the music would be most popular. And meeting with them, sitting down with them, getting to know what they wanted, there was a CFO. And the CFO was someone who had went to college, had a bachelor's in business, was focused on building a brand identity for the company, wanting to find ways to bring money in. But in actuality, he really wasn't a CFO. He was a bookkeeper pretending to be a CFO because he didn't know certain things. He didn't know basic accounting. He didn't know how to write a private placement memorandum, how to seek out investors, how to create opportunities through shares of investments. He was clueless, but because he could manage the books, he became the CFO. I came in as a hybrid lawyer to kind of fill in the gaps and the holes where the CEO, the CFO, and the CMO didn't have. And for the first 4 or 5 months, it was great. I mean, there were a lot of problems. There were a lot of things that they didn't know or they overlooked. And I stepped in and filled it in and kind of moved forward. Now, this is the beginning of the digital revolution in terms of music. Apple's Player is in the market. Everybody's getting an iPod. Everybody is running around the city with their iPod in their ears, listening to their music without it being on a phone. It was an amazing time just to be able to hear the purity of music. But Microsoft had its own digital player that it brought into the market that they wanted to compete with iPod. And it was not a bad product. Yes, it was a Windows product. Yes, it had some fallibilities. Overall, sound, movement, weight was perfect. And this particular DJ pool company was being sought after by Microsoft. So I began to put some documents together, some ideas, what needs to happen. The CFO is in his feelings because he thinks I'm trying to take his job. And I'm really not trying to take his job. I'm trying to get a check, maintain what I'm chasing after, my own career, and not worrying about wanting someone else's job. That's never been my thing. So there's a meeting that is happening in Tribeca with the SVP of music for Microsoft, the person who writes the check for marketing, promotions, the person who's spearheading how to get the DigiZoom out into the marketplace. And the concept was, if you give it to DJs and DJs can carry all their music on it and plug this DigiZoom into a control panel where they have all their music with them, It starts to eliminate having to carry crates of music. It's all condensed. You could have it backed up on a drive in case it crashed, just becoming easier to be more efficient DJs. So we're sitting in this meeting, having some small appetizers. The gentleman comes down from the Tribeca Grill Hotel. We sit, we laugh, they introduce each other, and he's just trying to feel his way with these two gentlemen, the CEO and the CFO. I'm being introduced as an outside counsel. This is what I do. This is how I'm making it work, blah, 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 blah. So he says, I love the concept. I see your DJ pool list. You have DJs around the world who have huge followings. And I think this could be a perfect partnership. And I think we are willing to invest to make this work. And so we're all like, that's great. That's amazing. Now, mind you, we are 3 black men. He's a white man. And he is trying to stroke their egos to make them feel like we're doing them a favor, when in actuality, it is us who's doing their favor, trying to launch a product that is maybe 6 to 9 months behind the launch of the iPod. So the gentleman looks at the CEO and says, hey, how much money do you need? The CEO looks at the CFO, and the CFO, well, it depends. And the Microsoft SVP says, okay, tell me, what does it depend on? And the two of them go back trying to figure out how to ask for money without asking for money, but they don't know how much money they really want or how much money they really need to do what Microsoft is requiring them to do so that they could launch their Digi product within a DJ pool globally. And I'm sitting there and I'm taking notes and I'm listening. And he looks at me and says, Malik, do you have an idea how much money you think they need? And I was like, it depends. We can start at 15 million, we can go to 25 million, or we can go balls to the wall at 50 million. And he was like, 50 million? I said, 50 million. And so he says, well, those are kind of random numbers. Can you give me details? And I was like, sure. If we do 15 million, we're staying North America only. We're going to clubs, we're going to DJs who have large followings. That means pool parties in Vegas. That means the DJs clubs in New York and in Miami and around the country in those 10 key cities that every record label knows you break records in. We're also going to have a product launch market, and we're going to have a unique product that's probably gold, a gold one, and one it's silver. And depending on your DJ pool will depend on how if you get a gold one or a silver one. The 25 million means we're going to branch out a little further, and we're going to start looking at clubs in key cities that are large music venues. So you're talking about Tokyo, Germany, London, France, and the Americans. Now, if you want the whole enchilada, which is the 50 million, now we're talking globally. And we're talking about the largest global music markets where we can go in, we can do the same thing. We hire key staff in those cities. We give them product, we give them branding opportunities and t-shirts, parties and giveaways, and all the things that make people want to be a part of this. We create the buzz with the gold and silver DigiZoom that you too could be a part of this private club. Because that's what Apple did. Apple made it a private club, and everybody wanted to be a part of the private club. The guy from Microsoft sits back and he was like, that makes sense. That makes perfect sense. And I was like, yeah, I can, with, the three of us can get together, and I can have something together for you in 48 hours so that you can kind of look through it, look at the numbers and see what is what and what makes sense to you. And it doesn't have to be the top number or the bottom number. It can be a combination, whatever's going to suit the needs of Microsoft to make this work within the parameters of our DJ pools. We can make it work. He was like, you know what, Malik, I like the way that sounds. Let me get that from you, and then I'll get back to you guys and we'll talk. Great. We shook hands. We had another drink. We laughed and giggled for a little while. He was on his way to dinner. So the three of us sat there, finished our appetizers, finished our drinks, and then we left. So we're walking, and the CFO is in his feelings. Now, I don't know why he's in his feelings, but he's in his feelings. And so the CEO was like, yo, Malik, that was amazing. Like, yo, Where'd you get those numbers from? I said, what do you mean where I get them from? Those numbers are always lodged in my head because I never know what it is. And I can make those numbers fit in any situations. That's what I do. The CFO was like, well, that was just random thoughts. I could have done the same thing. And before my brain said, don't say anything, my lips had already said it. And I said, if you could have done it, you should have done it, but you didn't do it. So now you're upset that I did it? Oh, from the moment you started working here, you've been trying to take my job and I know it and I'm tired of it and you just undermined me. And so the CEO and him are boys. And I was like, do you think I undermined him? He's like, no, I don't think you undermined him. I think you saved us. And he was like, no, he's not. He didn't save us. He's trying to replace me. And I was like, sir, I don't want your job, but I can help you do your job. And I think that's where the problem is here. And that's okay. If that's what you want to do, that's fine. So he was like, I don't need your help to put this deck together. I can do it myself. So I look at the COO and I said, are you sure you don't want my help? He's like, if he can do it, he says he can do it. If there's a problem, we'll come back to you and we'll let you know. And I was like, fine, no problem. They got the deck done. I didn't see the deck. I also didn't get paid that Friday. So I called and I said, hey, what's going on? My check wasn't in my account. Oh, money's a little tight right now, and we're trying to get this deal done. So I don't know if we can pay you right now. You may have to wait another, week, 2 weeks to get your check while we're working on this Microsoft deal. But, you'll be fine. You just keep working with us. And I was like, I'm not going to keep working with you if I'm not getting paid, especially the way I was treated. That I'm not going to do. He was like, Malik, don't be that way. And I was like, you know what? I think at this venture here, I think there's a problem and it's only going to get worse. So I'm going to step back. Now, if you get the Microsoft deal and you can pay me, great. I'll come back on as a consultant and then we'll just go from there. 3 months go by, back and forth with Microsoft, and Microsoft makes the decision they're not going to do the deal. So I tend to give my business card out when I meet people. So the Microsoft guy sends me an email, which I thought was weird. I had been working with them for 3 months. He sends me an email and he's like, hey, what's going on? How are you? I was like, I'm well, what's going on? He's like, can I pick your brain about something? I was like, sure, no problem. So he called me and we talked and he was like, I really do wish that you were still working with these gentlemen because I would have given you the money to do the job you said you could do in that moment, because everything about what you said made me believe you could do it. You were confident, you were comfortable, you didn't have an issue, you weren't scared, you didn't feel intimidated by me. In fact, I felt a little intimidated by you. And I was like, why would you be intimidated by me? You hold all the cards. He says, because you walked in with confidence. You were sure of what you wanted, what you needed, how it was going to get done, how it was going to be spent. Most people never know that when they meet with big companies like Microsoft. And if there's anything I can do to help you, please let me know. And I was like, you can give me a job working with you. I would love that. He's like, well, we're on a hiring freeze right now, but if a job comes up, I definitely will reach out to you. And no, I never got to reach out. When you decide you want to go for the big fish and you are a small fish in a shark-infested waters, you better know what the fuck you're talking about. You better know who you are, why you are, and what the fuck you're doing. Because if you don't, you won't get nowhere. You will be eaten alive. You can't be afraid to take the chance and still be unprepared taking the chance. You should always know what you want, why you want it, and why you can do it. Always have numbers ready to go. Always have the elevator speech as if it sounds like it's off the top of your head, but it's been so rehearsed that you are now familiar with it. Never miss an opportunity, because you never know if the opportunity is not going to come around. And if it doesn't come around, that's okay too, because not every opportunity is for everybody. As my parents used to say, all money ain't good money. And sometimes when you take bad money, bad shit happens. So I want you to think about your business, what your business is, why your business is, what it does, what you want it to achieve. I want you to always think about it. Be prepared. You never know when you run into somebody who can change the trajectory of your business, but you got to be prepared. You got to have, one sheet with you in your phone that's ready to go. that you can just say, oh, let me send you my one sheet and you can look at it and get back to me. Why? Because it's in your phone. You're not carrying your computer every day, but you have it ready to go. You have an elevator speech ready to go. You can talk hypotheticals and numbers with an ease. That makes investors feel comfortable, feels like you know what you're talking about. Remember, you are the captain of this ship. And if it goes down, you're going down with it. Not because you didn't know what you were doing. Well, kind of. But you just wasn't prepared for the treacherous waters. Stay woke. We out.